This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, let's get ready. Let's go with the man that's upside down, Marcel, Louis-Jacques, right here in our myedgedrink.com Miami Dolphins report. There he is. How you feeling?
There it is. Good? I'm good, man. No intro threw me off. I'm used to the.
We're changing the intros. Things are developing, so we are changing some stuff. So yeah, we have to do some stuff. So yeah, there's things.
It's all good. That's usually like my Zen moment. You know, when I hear the voiceover, I gather.
You will get it back. It's just things out of our control that we had to adjust. So that's what we're doing here on the show. But anyway, first of all, your general thoughts on how would you explain the loss and the state of the Dolphins at 3-3 to the Dolphin Nation?
Well, I mean, it's disappointing. Obviously, we got to deal in absolutes here. And regardless of the reasonings why and injuries and this, that, and the third, the fact is you're 3-3 after starting 3-0. You're going to be disappointed no matter what the reason is. That being said, you're still smack in the middle of a very easy schedule. This was the last team with the winning record the Dolphins will play until they travel to the San Francisco to play the 49ers. Like, if you were ever going to snap back and snap out of a losing streak, it's going to be during this stretch. It's almost reminiscent of last year, when they had, Jets twice and the Giants and the Panthers and Texans and all of these garbage teams. That's kind of what you got going here. You got to be able to beat the Steelers at home next week. You got to be able to go beat the Lions up north. Although I will say, the Lions play for Dan Campbell. You can't go up there with your C game or your B- game. You got to go play. But you still should be able to beat the Lions. You should be able to beat the Bears. You should be able to beat the Browns, and then the Texans after a bye week. Like, there is plenty of time to right the ship.
Part of the equation. They don't win for Dan Campbell.
Yeah, they play for Dan Campbell. They don't win for Dan Campbell yet. But first things first. You got to be able to play for your coach at the very least. They don't have the talent, but the effort and the heart is there. And one of these weeks, they're going to catch somebody slipping.
That's the numbers game in the NFL. Even teams that suck pick up a couple of wins every year.
Yeah, it's not hard-hitting analysis. You just got to make sure it's not you. Like, when you're Miami going up there, you got to make sure it's not you. But look, man, this was my takeaway from the game. Like, every week, if you guys didn't know, ESPN, we do a takeaway and a biggest question moving forward. My takeaway from this game, and maybe this is a place where I can start to elaborate on those. My takeaway from this game, no matter what you feel, how you feel about Tua's viability as the long-term franchise quarterback, this team is quantifiably better with him on the field. And I know you're thinking, of course you're better with your starting quarterback. It ain't that damn obvious. It ain't that obvious with all these people outside of the Miami beat asking, well, how short is the leash? Teddy's going to take that job eventually. Skyler's opportunity to win you would be shocked outside of Miami how many people thought that leash was short this year. It ain't short. It ain't short. And Tua is the guy.
I have no excuses for the clueless. Okay, anybody that thought Teddy was better than Tua, you're a freaking moron. Okay, basically. And if you thought Skyler was going to jump over Tua, you're a freaking moron. So if you're a former player or coach and you thought that, shame on you, dude. You're pretty stupid. Okay. Or if you're a woman, you're also pretty freaking stupid. Okay. Because that's what I would say to anybody that thought that. And I'll continue to say that because it's just moronic. You know what? My problem is Teddy's such a fantastic human being. Right. And you look at him, he's never been special ever in his life. Yet people make excuses for him all the time because they like him. And then down here, because he's from here. And because you're emotional ties and because he's such a good kid, you get blinded by the reality that this is a guy that can't average 2 touchdowns a game. And guess what? Today he got 2. That's like a high-powered offense under Teddy. I mean,
he is a good dude. But I know I have said it repeatedly since August. I probably have said it on this show. Skyler was not a rookie. Skyler would have been the primary backup exiting training camp. Period.
Right.
He was that much better. It's hard to tell the difference between, it's hard to tell the difference between a number 2 and number 3 quarterback at practice. It's usually kind of hard to say and truly evaluate quarterback play without knowing what assignments are and really being in the meeting room. But when it's obvious, it's obvious. I know I've said that here before. When it's obvious, it's obvious. And Skylar Thompson was obviously better than Teddy Bridgewater throughout the summer. And it translated onto the field, which I know it's a vanilla defense and I know it's preseason. But what those performances do is they show, okay, in real time, you are able to perform. We've seen how many quarterbacks hop into a game and spit up on themselves because they're not ready to play,
right,
or they're not capable of playing at the level. Skylar Thompson is capable of playing at the NFL level.
Oh yeah,
I think I tweeted out today.
I tweeted out during the game, this is the day Skylar Thompson passed Teddy Bridgewater on the depth chart. It's over already. If Mike McDaniel really is looking at what he needs to do, now Teddy needs to become a hard drive. That's what he's there, bro. His experience, his intelligence, help Skylar, help to his development, and that's it, bro. That's who he is. But right now you can see it athletically. You're going to get more out of Skylar than you are out of Teddy right now at this point in time. Tua's way ahead of those guys. Forget about it. He's got a better feel for the game than those guys any day. But at this point, Skylar's the number 2, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think, look, we say it all the time, or I say, during the segment, teams won't lie to you. They're not lying. You just have to pay attention to what they're doing. Teddy Bridgewater has been in this league for, 8 years now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Give or take 8 years, 9 years?
Yeah.
You're going to tell me that with 3 days prep, just being in the meeting room, you're going to tell me that an 8 or 9 year vet cannot clear concussion protocol and play on Sunday if you believe he is the best option for your team? Absolutely not. Skylar Thompson is playing because Skylar Thompson was the better option for the team. Because Skylar, at this point in the season, at this point in his career already, the arm talent is already surpassing Teddy. And they're at a point where his level of preparation is now at least comparable to that of Teddy Bridgewater. He's the option. Like that was kind of loud and clear.
They were very confident
on Wednesday.
They were very competent today. It's just they made mistakes that were out of his control, and they took themselves. They should have had 2 field goals on 2 of his drives at least. So it was really the people around him that made mistakes and killed some of his drives. But that's why it says 0 there in the scoreboard for him. But he really did his job. That you figure, okay, he keeps playing. The offense eventually is going to break one of those because he's got enough playmakers out there on the field. He looked comfortable in there. He looked well prepared. They did a really good job with him.
He showed up and he did his job there in the first quarter. I mean, what more can you ask if the kid? It got to the point where he was literally running for first downs himself. The long play to I think is the Sherfield down the sideline, called back to penalty, comes right back to Craycraft to get him back deep in the red zone, called back to a penalty. You can only do so much at quarterback. He came out and did his job through, a quarter and a half, if that. Watching him play, at no point was I thinking this kid's not ready to play. This kid is going to hold them back. Watching him play, it was like, okay, eventually they're going to stop shooting themselves in the foot and they're going to go score. This was a winnable game. The Vikings were so unspectacular is the way to put it. So unspectacular on offense, unimaginative on offense and defense. They didn't blitz. They decisively didn't blitz. And they still created 19 pressures, sending 4 or fewer pass rushers. Yeah. But they sent 1 pass rusher and created a pressure at some point in the game. It's too early to tell. I have to watch the game again.
Yeah, but you know what?
It's too early to tell whether it's just poor O-line play or if it was Bridgewater holding on to the ball. My gut tells me it's a healthy mix of both.
Yeah. Half the sacks for Bridgewater's fault. And let me tell you, most of the time, both quarterbacks had time to throw, to make a decision quickly and all that. There were times where Teddy he has no athleticism, dude. It's just really hard for him to get out of the way, where at least you saw Skyler at times, he was able to scramble himself out of some trouble, and then he's got a much stronger arm, than Teddy does. So he's going to be able to throw, off balance and things like that a little better than Teddy. And so, to me, the line, even with the two tackles, the backup tackles, they still gave him enough time to kind of make some plays. The guy I'm really concerned about, and I'm wondering if he has some naked pictures of somebody in the team, is Eichenberg, to be quite honest. Either that or Michael Dieter and Robert Jones must suck on royal levels that they cannot get one chance over that guy, because if there's a real weak link on that team, my brother, it is Liam Eichenberg.
Oh, yeah, and the excuses are done. Now, last year, I was willing to write it off as, okay, he played all 5 positions over the course of his first NFL offseason. It's not fair to him. He's getting used to a bunch of different things at once. Let's give him another year, this and that. Yeah, you practiced at left guard all spring. You were left guard all summer. You've been left guard all season. And you are a turnstile right now. Respectfully, you've been a turnstile. The excuses have to stop, and eventually you can play or you can't. This would be a massive miss, because I think Eichenberg was seen as one of the sure things of the 2021 draft. But he hasn't been good. And like you said, maybe it is it is an indictment against Dieter and Jones if they can't get on the field at left guard throughout Eichenberg's struggle. I respect the fact that McDaniel strikes me as the type of coach that will let a player play through his struggles and play through something and try to elevate himself. But look, man, it is. We're going to week 7 now. The season is almost halfway over. You are running out of time before you become just a flat out liability, before your status as a liability is going to put the team in a hole that it cannot bring itself out of. So I think that I think it's really put up or shut up time for Eichenberg, and I think that there should be a short leash probably moving forward, particularly if you've got a guy like Dieter, who apparently a lot of teams are excited about, since Greer tells us that they get calls about him every week or every year. He can't play. You can't put him on the field. So we'll see. Of course, you never know what's going on behind the scenes. You never know what guys are like in the meeting room. You don't know what guys are like in the facility. So I tend to defer to coaches in that regard. But no, Eichenberg and at right tackle have been a problem throughout the season, or throughout the first 6 weeks of the season. And you can write off the problems at right tackle as, oh, you need Austin Jackson back, which Dolphins fans, did you ever think that you would find yourself, counting down the days until Austin Jackson gets back to the field?
Hey, listen.
That's why patience is important.
A lot of Dolphin fans were down on Tua, and now there's I would imagine there's an ultra appreciation for Tua Tagovailoa now at this point. You know what I'm saying? At this point, people are going, okay. I was wrong. Okay, he's way better than what we have. Yeah. Come on back. So you never know. Maybe some of them are coming. Hey, listen, maybe we can start getting Iggy with it. Who knows? He made a couple plays.
I called it. I tried to call it today. I said that Noah would end up picking off Kirk Cousins. He was in position to a handful of times today. Got away with some DPI, but it is what it is.
That's all right.
It ended up being a lot better
at the beginning of the game. By the way, they got away with a safety at the beginning of the game. Okay, they did, and that's where I think fans are becoming disillusioned with the NFL. Not disillusioned enough to stop watching, but disillusioned is the lack of consistency with their calls. If you're going to call Teddy Bridgewater's intentional grounding last week, if you're going to call that an intentional grounding and a safety, Kirk Cousins threw that on his way to the ground. If that's not intense,
He intentionally threw it on the ground. If that's not intentional grounding, I do not know what is. I don't know what is. I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was a ridiculous call. But even still, we talk about Noah. I thought it was going to end up being a lot worse because he got torched his first snap by Thielen. He tugged him on purpose and it saved the touchdown. Like
right.
I know you can roll your eyes at him, but he made the wrong play and then he made the right play there.
Right, the right decision, the wrong position. Whatever.
Yeah, so he, it was a big moment for him. He might have a couple big moments coming up as well. This cornerback room, it looks decimated. I think it would be a lot less concerning if Byron Jones' 21-day window was even open, but the window's not even open up yet. And he's not ready to. I don't think he's at a point where he could just hop on the field Wednesday and be ready to play Sunday. I don't think that's really been the MO of this coaching staff. I think that if his window is open this week, that you still don't see him until the Lions game there in week 8. I think is best case scenario for him. But look, man, I the defense played awesome today. Outside of there was 2 plays, and that's why you always say, that I always say the difference between an NFL game is often 2, 3, 4 plays make the difference. 2 plays accounted for 42% of the Vikings' offensive output today. The 53-yarder, the touchdown run from Cook at the end of the game, and the 47-yard catch and run from Justin Jefferson that set them up for a score. Outside of those 2 plays, this defense was awesome. Outside of those 2 plays, they gave up 134 yards. Outside those 2 plays, Dalvin Cook 20 rushing yards. Justin Jefferson, I don't remember what he ended with, but you take that 47-yarder away and it doesn't look as impressive. I know that. So I thought this was a standout performance. What they need to do, and again, it's reminiscent of last year, the first half of the Bills game in Week 8 last year, where you really started to see something click and the lights turn on for this defense. You're hoping that this is a light bulb moment for them moving forward with an easy schedule, so that they can be fully in a rhythm, fully swinging, fully grooving by the time a grueling December comes around. You need this defense clicking on all cylinders.
I know you lost Noah now, which royally sucks. And obviously Byron's not back. And then Kohu was also on the inactive list this week. But X really shouldn't be playing. X really should be resting so you can try to get him closer to 100%. I've never heard of you playing through growing injuries and getting healthy. And it's groins, not 1, it's 2. So I know it sounds crazy, but are they risking even worse by playing X? Because who knows if this becomes even worse of an issue for him as the season goes on, because the guy you're seeing out there, that's not the guy you normally pay.
I mean, he did sit last week, so they did sit him last week. But at some point, like, you got to injuries are kind of part of the game. You think that he can play through it, and if he says that he can play through it, then I think you kind of have to go with what your staff says.
Okay,
I'm not blaming him. He got beat on that play. He got beat on that play by Jefferson. But 1, Jefferson might be the best wide receiver in the NFL, and 2, it was a great play design. It was the only time I was impressed by what Minnesota did on offense, where they basically ran Adam Thielen straight at X. It was almost a pick play where X had to run around him, and by that point, Jefferson was already wide open with full head of steam. It was a perfect man beater.
And then Thielen burned them for the touchdown. Thielen burned them for the touchdown in the back of the end zone.
Sure.
So, that's the same drive. It ended with the Thielen touchdown on X.
Drive. Can't cover forever. I got to rewatch. I have to rewatch that play. But from what I remember, Cousins had all day and then some to throw, and that kind of tends to happen at that part of the field, especially when it shrinks in that part of the field. You can't cover forever. But there are some explanations for the big plays that he gives up. Obviously, it's not the shutdown, lockdown X that everybody is accustomed to seeing. But he's an all-pro, and you would like to think that he's going to figure it out. You would like to believe that he's going to get it. He's going to get it corrected once he has a little bit of time, a little bit of time to heal. But I think I don't know. I think that they shown the willingness to sit him if they thought that the groins were really hindering him that badly last week. Him being active today tells me that's not how they feel anymore. They feel like he can play through it.
By the way, you can order myedgedrink.com, the finest energy drink on the planet. Delicious, smooth, and zero aftertaste. I tell you all the time, it's an amazing elixir. Next Saturday for the Duke game at 12:30 over at Walk-Ons in Kendall, we're going to have a free taste testing. You can check it out, but you can order it at myedgedrink.com. Use our code Big O, and you will get 10% off myedgedrink.com. Delicious, smooth, and zero aftertaste. I promise you. Once you taste it, you're going to go, this is the best energy drink on the planet. Also, Jason Sanders. I'm not ready to give up on the kid because I've seen this before with kickers, and sometimes, his whole career has been a peak. This is the first valley that he's been in. So how concerned are you? We already got people wanting to cut him and go find somebody else. I'm not there yet. It's still kind of early, but you can say you're a little concerned right now about Jason Sanders. So what DEFCON are we? 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and I guess 5 is the worst, or is it 4? What is it? Does it go to 4?
I thought 5. If 5 is the worst, I think If 5 is the worst, I think you're at 3. I think you're at 3 because he wasn't great. He wasn't particularly good last year either. And you're starting to see that carry over despite a pretty good training camp and a good summer. Kickers can develop the yips though, man. And,
I've seen it.
If he gets the yips, it's DEFCON 7, and I don't care what the last one is. If he gets the yips, it's a dub. But again, I think it's a staff that wants to show players, look, even when you struggle, we're going to believe in you. We're going to give you an opportunity to work through it. It wasn't that long ago where they made him. I believe he was the highest paid kicker in the NFL outside of Justin Tucker, right?
Yes, so, for a short time. Yes.
So they believe in him. I think they're going to give him the chance to work through it. But you got to stop missing kicks, man. Like I don't like doing that whole kicker. You have one job thing, but
it's true.
It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to quantify your screw ups when you're a kicker. When you're a receiver, you might have ran the wrong route, or you could have dropped the ball, or your get off could be slow, or this or that and the third. When you're a lineman, there's a lot of different things that could have gone wrong. When you're a kicker, you either make the kick or you missed it. So we can see where you're messing up. Yeah, there's not a lot of variables there. So it is something they got to correct because those are points that you can't afford to leave on the board.
Follow him on Twitter at Marcel_LJ and catch his work there at ESPN. Marcel, as always, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you. We'll catch up later in the week.
Absolutely.
You got it. There you go. Marcel Louis-Jacques. Follow him on Twitter, Marcel_LJ.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.